Hello everyone, I'm here today to do a review of The Mirror and the Light by Hillary Mantel. This was longlisted for the Booker Prize this year, and it was the last book of the long list that I had to read for the Booker Boy Book Club that Kieran organizes. So yeah, I'm done with the long list. I have made reviews of a lot of the books in the long list, so I will leave my playlist down below if you want to check those reviews out. But this one is the third book in the trilogy, the Wolf Hall trilogy by Hillary Mantel. So in the trilogy we follow Thomas Cromwell, who was the right hand of the King Henry VIII in the 1500s in England. And the first book, Wolf Hall, was about how Thomas Cromwell rises to the position of the right hand of the king. And then the second book follows him during the high point of his reign, let's say. And then this one is the time when he eventually falls out of Henry's grace. And I don't know if it's a spoiler if you don't want to know, but at the end of this book, Thomas Cromwell dies. So Henry VIII was well known for all his wives, and because of that he also started the Anglican Church. It was the time when Martin Luther was also starting his Protestantism in Central Europe, and he takes his own spin on it and decides to create the Anglican Church. And this book follows Henry VIII and Cromwell as they do that. And the first one is about the time when Henry and Catherine were married, who was the first wife, and then Anne Boleyn, who was the second. It's in the second book, and this one is it goes to Jane and Anne, who are the third and fourth wives. And this looks a lot into the court mysteries and the court conspiracies, and also into that creation of the Anglican Church, which is something that I particularly enjoyed. But ultimately, this book is about power, about ambition, what men do and women sometimes do to get power, to be in the favor of the king and be able to sometimes manipulate him into what they want to do and read people so that they can manipulate it. All the people in this book are horrible, just out of there, but it is so complex and so well constructed that even though they're horrible, it does make sense within the context, and you can understand what they make, the choices they make, even though you might not agree with them and you might think that they are horrible. You see where they're coming from, and I think that's the beauty of Hillary Mantel, that she's able to make you care about people that are horrible and about all these power struggles that they are having. The writing is also beautiful. The way she writes about food and the way she writes about killings, it's very vivid. So yeah, just be aware of that as well. But yeah, I think that she portrays the ambition of Thomas Cromwell really well. But not only Thomas Cromwell, also other nobility in the court. And I think that also because Thomas Cromwell was not noble, and it seems that one of his main objectives is to become a noble, but he never quite gets there, and he knows that he will eventually be killed by the king, because that's how everyone in the court seems to end up. But he wants to live his life the way he wants until that happens, and I think that is very, very well portrayed. So yeah, I overall quite enjoyed this book. I think it's by far the third book is the best in the trilogy. Wolf Hall was way too dense. This is also dense, but it's in a way that is less jarring. It's easier to read, at least for me. The first one was just plain dense, also because you didn't know the characters, and I swear half of the male population at this time was called Thomas. It was very confusing. But now we know the characters, so it's easier to follow. And then Bring Up the Bodies is a lot more pacey and a lot more like a story, which I really like. But this one has that, but it has much more complex and deep conversations that the second one does, in my opinion. So that's why I think this one is the best of the three, because it combines the best thing of the other two. And as I said, it's also a bit dense, and there are so many people that are called Thomas. I think that they were like, and also the ladies are either called Anne or Mary or Catherine. It's just how it seems to be. But one thing that helped me with that is the audiobook. I was listening to the audiobook at the same time as I was reading this, and because the narrator sometimes does slightly different voices, you would be able to know better who he's referring to when he uses different names. So yeah, if you're finding it dense, I would say try the audiobook. Maybe that will help. But yeah, that's the main criticism that I have. Personally, I really liked it. I quite enjoyed the reading experience. It is not a book that naturally appeals to me, in the sense that I'm not particularly interested on all the plots and the conspiracies of the court. So in that sense, I did not find this like my type of book, but that is on me, that's not on the book. I think the book is it's really well executed, it's complex, it's deep, it's it's a very impressive work, and I think that this honestly should have been in the shortlist, given that the other two won and this one is better. Yeah, but what can we say, right? But yeah, I think that overall was a really good book, and even though it is not my personal favorite topic to look, I still admire it and I still enjoyed it, and I would say that it is worth giving a try to the trilogy, and don't get discouraged in the first book, because that one was very dense, but it gets better afterwards. So yeah, those are my thoughts on The Mirror and the Light. Again, this is the last review for the Booker Prize this year. I would be making a video with my predictions for the winner, sort of. So I hope you want to see that as well. Let me know if you have read this trilogy, or if you want to read it, or if you tried it and DNF it, because I think a lot of people did that too. It's not an easy book to get through. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next one, bye!